You probably read the title and said, there's no way, a Yamcha video? Well, be prepared, because it's real. Unless the last piece of Dragon Ball media you watched or read was Dragon Ball Original, then you probably completely forgot about this guy. But that ends today, because this theoretical is all about this former desert bandit. Forget Goku, forget Gohan, and even forget Vegeta. He's gonna be the star of this show. Salad Sane's new April Fool's idea about Tien being the strongest sort of inspired me to start this series. So with that, let's get right into this very unique what-if scenario. This series starts right after the Namek Saga. Goku just defeated the evil alien Emperor Frieza on planet Namek, and narrowly escaped the destruction of the planet by finding a spare space pod which is headed towards planet Yardrat. Bulma, Vegeta, and the rest of the surviving Namekians are teleported by Porunga all the way back to Earth, where they use their first wish to revive Krillin. But the second wish, this is where our glorious king is brought back from his harsh and deadly battle with the powerful aliens called the Cybermen. But this is nothing like the Yamcha we know from the original plotline. This is an entirely different man. After dying to the Cybermen, Yamcha was absolutely devastated. Not only did he let down his friends, but he let down the whole planet. He should have been training harder on Earth after hearing about the Saiyans' arrival from Raditz. This inspires Yamcha to train on King Kai's planet like never before. He trains 2 times harder than the rest of the people on that planet. This includes Piccolo, Chaozu, and Tien. This new set of Yamcha inspires the others, who in return train twice as hard as the original series. But they still weren't at the same level of perseverance that Yamcha was at, and this training at King Kai showed this. Before leaving back to Earth, he was able to achieve something that none of the other fighters were able to. This is the Kaioken technique. Although it was only Kaioken times 2, it still significantly increased his power. King Kai was extremely impressed as well as surprised. Even the Saiyan Goku wasn't able to achieve this technique as fast as Yamcha did. Alright, with the King Kai arc out of the way, we're going back to post-Frieza Saga. Yamcha is revived, and instead of celebrating his and Krillin's revival with the rest of the Earthlings and Namekians, he flies off into the sky. He goes back to where he had his battle with the Cybermen and breaks down crying. How could he have been so weak during the battle with the Saiyans? He really sat on the sidelines and let Goku handle everything and single-handedly save the world? This, mixed with the fact that Goku also saved an entire race from an evil emperor from space, was just too much for Yamcha right now. So from this point on, he was done with the Earthling way of life. Money, women, baseball, all of this was casted to the side. He was going to train like no Earthling before him. This is about the time in the canon series where Earth lives happily for about 2 years before Mecha Frieza and King Cold decide to take their little trip over to Earth. But this gap is nowhere near happy for Yamcha. It's pain. He spends every day training and freeloading at Master Roshi's house, constantly begging him to train with him. In this time, Yamcha learns a very valuable lesson from Roshi, the Kamehameha. Yamcha already had the basics for the Kamehameha, but this additional training perfected this technique. I also do want to bring up the fact that Puar's here, and Yamcha's still friends with him for the time being. I don't know, I just thought I'd say this, because just in case people are wondering, Sometime later, while Yamcha was visiting Capsule Corp, he noticed a crazy-looking spaceship outside the building, and asked Bulma about it. This was the gravity chamber that Bulma made for Vegeta. After testing out the chamber a bit, Yamcha asked Bulma if there was any way she could make a smaller model for him, and surprisingly, she agrees. She already had the schematics, so it really shouldn't take too long. A few months later, the gravity chamber is done, and Yamcha puts it in a capsule and takes it to Master Roshi's, where he uses it daily all the way until the start of the Android Saga. In canon, Roshi would have been sleeping and reading nudie mags for about 2 years, and Vegeta would have been getting stronger, but he really never had anyone to help fight with him other than Piccolo, which they really never sparred that much to begin with. Yamcha sort of started to fill the position of Goku while he was gone. From all this training, Yamcha was able to obtain Kaioken times 4, which surprisingly put him around the power level of Vegeta in base form. Actually, Yamcha was hiding a little something from Vegeta. He could actually go all the way up to Kaioken times 5, which would be stronger than current Vegeta, but he didn't really want to do that since he recently just got on Vegeta's good side and didn't really want to complicate things. In the last month of his time before the Android Saga officially begins, Vegeta actually obtained something quite special here: Super Saiyan. Once he heard the story of Kakarot obtaining this form, he knew he had to have it, and with the help of having a rival like Yamcha back on Earth, as well as using the gravity chamber room more often, he obtains this faster than the canon story. It's still a very unstable and untrained Super Saiyan form, but using high amounts of energy, he can access it at will. This is where the android saga begins. One day, the Z-Fighters notice two very powerful energy signatures coming from Earth from space. They all immediately rush over to where the energy sources appear to be landing. Vegeta and Yamcha were training at Capsule Corp at the time, so they were the first to arrive. A huge circular ship appears in the sky and lands on Earth, and out comes none other than Frieza, joined by an array of Frieza Force soldiers, as well as his father, King Cold. Frieza laughs after not being able to sense Goku around. Nobody here is going to be able to stop him, not Vegeta or that other weakling standing beside him. Frieza offers Vegeta the choice of dying or becoming his personal soldier once more. Vegeta smiles and says that he should be offering the same choice to Frieza, but he's going to go with the death option. Frieza glares at the Saiyan and tells him to prepare to die, so Vegeta says, "Before you kill me, I'd like you to know that there's more than just one Super Saiyan." "Oh, you don't believe me? Allow me to prove you wrong!" Vegeta screams and charges up his newly acquired Super Saiyan form. Frieza charges up and attacks Vegeta, but it's to no avail. Vegeta catches his punch, smiling deviously, and throws Frieza into the air. Vegeta then charges a Gallic gun and fires it directly at Frieza, vaporizing him instantly. King Cold is shocked by this and prepares to shoot an energy blast at Vegeta. Yamcha says, "I'll take care of Big Ugly, so don't you worry," and immediately charges up the Kaioken times 4 and simply swats the blast away. He then charges in and exchanges blows with King Cold. He's strong, but Yamcha is a much more experienced fighter at this point. Yamcha realizes that this is the extent of King Cold's power, so he smiles and charges up a Kaioken times 5. He then shoots a Spirit Ball at King Cold, which smacks him around for a bit and eventually crashes to the ground, killing the former Emperor. After the fight, a purple-haired warrior comes into the story. This is of course future Trunks. Turns out he was watching the fight up on top of a mountain, and he was very surprised that his father was able to achieve the Super Saiyan form, since he never heard of anyone being able to do that from this timeline. Other than Goku, of course. He was also confused about who Yamcha was. He died off pretty early in his timeline back when Trunks was still a toddler, so this definitely makes sense. Here the story pretty much follows canon. The team as well as Trunks wait for the arrival of Goku, and eventually he shows up. He's also very surprised to learn that other Saiyans can achieve the Super Saiyan form. They then begin to learn future Trunks' story about the future altercations with androids 17 and 18. This is the part of the story where the 3-year time skip occurs. During the first 2 years, training is pretty relaxed. Fighters like Goku, Vegeta, Yamcha, and Trunks are all training of course, but the impending feeling of doom hasn't really hit them yet. This occurs during the final year. Here, the Z-Fighters and Trunks are all training as much as possible before the android arc. Similar to canon, the big change from the canon storyline begins around the final couple of weeks before the anticipated arrival of the androids. 8 days before the arrival, Yamcha realizes that even in Kaioken times 5, he's starting to lose footing when sparring with the Saiyans in their Super Saiyan form. He decides that it's time to take a trip over to Kami's place. He's heard of the Hyperbolic Time Chamber from Goku, but he's never personally used it. He gets to the lookout and is welcomed by Kami and Mr. Popo. These two already know about the android's arrival and gives Yamcha permission to use the time chamber for a day or two just to prep for the fight. Yamcha enters the room and is amazed by the vast emptiness of it all. He immediately notices the gravity change, but it doesn't affect him too much due to all the training that he had in the gravity chamber before the Frieza fight. This is where he starts his grueling training to overcome the Earthling threshold. He does physical training, ki training, mental training, image training with the thought of the Saiyans back on Earth, basically every type of training you could think of. Fast forward one day, or an entire year in the time chamber, and he's made significant changes to his power. He's even figured out how to get a grasp on Kaioken times 6. With this, he believes he could definitely spar with the full level of a Super Saiyan. He decides that he's going to train just one more day, which would just be a few minutes in the outside world, which isn't really a big deal. Or so he thought. He's going to go all out this last day and put out as much power as possible to see his limits. During his last day of training, he decides to work more on a technique similar to the Hellzone grenade from Piccolo, except using vast amounts of spirit balls. But something goes wrong. As he's training the move, a stray spirit ball loses control and flies into the chamber door. This causes a large explosion. When the dust from the room settles, Yamcha sees that the door is nowhere to be found. It was completely blown off its hinges and disintegrated. Yamcha is shocked and in horror of this realization. How is he ever going to leave now? He panics and tries to put the door back together, but it's no use. It's in pieces. Back on Earth, the Z-Fighters are also in quite a shock. Turns out the androids arrived on Earth about a week before they expected. They noticed this from a news station on Master Roshi's TV. An entire city was just blown to smithereens by an unidentified culprit. The Z-Fighters know it must be the androids, and all decide to set off the fight. Here, the story once again follows the original timeline. Well, except for Yamcha. Back at the lookout, Kami and Mr. Popo get the news about the androids showing up early, and frantically run to the time chamber entrance to check out Yamcha. Mr. Popo opens the door, and to their surprise, Yamcha is nowhere to be found. Mr. Popo is horrified by this and immediately goes out to tell Kami the bad news. They come to the conclusion that Yamcha must have accidentally destroyed the entrance, creating an alternate rift in space and time. Yamcha takes some time to process this and decides to sort rations. It seems food and water isn't a problem yet, but what should he do for now? He decides to take advantage of this horrible situation with training. So he trains, and trains, and trains until his mind just goes numb. Where is he? Has it been months or years? When were the androids going to show up? Yamcha's starting to really lose it here. The only thing he knows for certain is that he should be training for the androids. It's not like he has a choice though, it's really all he could do. By this time, he's been here for around 3.5 years, and the android saga is currently going on outside the chamber. Android 19 and Gero had their battle with the Z-Fighters, Goku had his heart issues, and Dr. Gero eventually released androids 17, 18, and 16 from their chambers. But Yamcha's story cannot possibly be any different from canon. Around the 4th year of being stuck in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, the unthinkable happens. Yamcha's finally out of rations. This is the day he's been dreading. He comes to the realization that he's going to die here. All of his friends trusted him, and for what? To accidentally trap himself in a door and be left for dead? He's lost his friends, his world, his universe, just for some power? He becomes blinded with an array of emotions. Anger, sadness, embarrassment. This drives Yamcha into madness. He has to get out of here. He charges his ki like never before, as well as going into Kaioken times 10, which he achieved some time ago. The ki radiating off Yamcha begins to change. The white and red fusion of colors begins to grow green with power. And then, it happens. Some type of transformation is happening to our protagonist here. This is Yamcha Evolved. Side note, but this new form has nothing to do with the legendary Super Saiyan transformation. I just wanted to make it green to sort of pay homage to the Cybermen situation. This power is insane. Yamcha's never seen anything like it. But it still doesn't really help the fact that he's going to starve to death in here. But little did he know, this transformation just saved his life. Someone in the universe is intrigued by this sudden spike of power, and decides to take a little visit to our old friend Yamcha. This is where I'm going to end part 1 of this series. If you enjoyed so far, please press like on the video and subscribe to the channel for the upcoming part 2 of What If Yamcha Was Trapped in the Time Chamber.